So like a week ago, the NBA draft lottery happened, and underratedly one of the biggest winners was the Toronto Raptors, who going into that draft were expected to probably get somewhere around the 10th to the 15th pick. But to the surprise of everyone, they went all the way up to the 4th pick, which is definitely huge and a definitely big win. And I haven't been seeing too much people discussing that, and honestly I think the Raptors getting the 4th pick drastically makes their future so much brighter. And even before this move, their future was still bright. So today's video, I'll be discussing why I believe the Toronto Raptors have a very bright future. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and touch my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Comment in this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. The first reason the Toronto Raptors have a very bright future is the fact that, as I said, they previously had the 4th pick in the draft this year, and this was when it was very unlikely for them to do so, because although I thought the Raptors still had a pretty decent future before this 4th pick, if you had to nitpick one thing about this team was the fact that they didn't have anyone on their roster who was a superstar or someone who could be a superstar or even a top 10 player in the NBA, and if you want to win the championship, you need a player of that level. I thought they would just be a really good team in the Eastern Conference that gives elite teams like the Nets, Bucks, 76ers trouble. But with this pick, they can honestly transform their whole roster around forever, because this 2021 draft has been doubted as one of the most talented drafts of the past few years. Because not only is it very top heavy with many players who look like they could be stars, it has many players throughout it who look like they could be solid NBA players that you could get with like the 20 or 25th pick. And the fact that the Raptors have a really high pick is definitely a win. And when you realize that we're talking about the Toronto Raptors, which is a team that has one of the best development programs or whatever, and they're basically just amazing at developing players, as they've done with guys like OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Chris Boucher, along with others, you would think that the player they're going to draft is going to do very well and be put in the right situation. Because if this was a team like the Timberwolves or the Orlando Magic, I would be somewhat hesitant on whether or not I think the player could thrive, but I'm pretty confident in Toronto that they will. And also, the Raptors always select the right player, as don't forget they selected Pascal Siakam with the 27th pick, which was definitely not a popular pick at the time. They selected OG Anunoby with the 20th pick, which was obviously a great pick, and they saw guys like Fred VanVleet and Chris Boucher and picked them up because they saw their talent and potential. So if there's any franchise that I would like trust a lot when it comes to selecting a great player or just selecting the right player, it is the Toronto Raptors, due to their great management. In my opinion, I think they should select a guy like Jalen Green if he's available, because I think he has really high potential to be the greatest scorer in this draft class. And if Evan Mobley's available, they should definitely look to pick him up, because Aaron Baines is freaking trash. But to conclude this point, getting this draft pick is very exciting for Raptors fans, and it's definitely a huge reason to why their future is bright. The second reason Toronto Raptors have a bright future is the fact that most of their core is pretty young, because they're not young like a team filled with a bunch of 20 or 23 year olds, but most of their young core is filled with a bunch of guys who are just entering their prime right now, meaning they could be looking to compete right now, which is definitely a good thing. Because a guy like Pascal Siakam, I believe he's like 26 or 27 years old. Fred VanVleet is around that age as well, and OG Anunoby is very young, as he's 23 years old, and Gary Trent is someone they definitely has to resign, and I think he's like 24 or 25 years old. Also, Chris Boucher is also 27 or 28 years old, far from an old team, and their pick from last year in Malachi Flynn is in his early 20s. So this is a team that's not too old and they're not too young, which is a perfect fit, because I think they have some veterans who can really help them make the playoffs, and they have some young players, which means they're more likely to improve their game and continue to develop rather than the older player. So they're going to continue to get better while being good at the same time. So I think that's a big reason the Raptors have a bright future, and I think they're going to be really good next season as long as they stay healthy and if they're allowed to play in Canada. The third reason I believe the Toronto Raptors have a bright future is the fact, unlike most other teams, the Raptors actually have a very well-run front office. This was a team like the Orlando Magic, Minnesota Timberwolves or the Sacramento Kings with this exact group of players, I wouldn't even trust them to make a great team because of what I've seen from these teams in the past. When you look at what the Raptors have done with their roster, they've made plenty of great moves in the past. For example, when they traded for Kyle Lowry a long time ago, also when they traded for Kawhi Leonard, which led to them getting a championship, and little moves like them trading for Serge Ibaka and trading for Marc Gasol, who are two players who were big parts of that run. And the fact that they're just really good at developing talent, and I believe everyone on this roster will be able to reach their full potential. It definitely increases the chance of this team being great. And of course, a lot of the credit has to go to Masai Ujiri. And although there's been some rumors that he might leave the team, honestly, I don't think he will, because I feel like he's someone who really loves Toronto. And right now, we're not even a championship roster, so we could actually use his help a lot. And I feel like he would have interest in trying to build us back to being a championship team. We definitely have the core to be that. So the fact that we have a front office that, in my opinion, is a top 5 front office, but if I like even go deeper in my opinion, I believe they're actually a top 3 and arguably the best, definitely improves the chance of them having a bright future. Because when you look at teams like the Sacramento Kings, who have just been at the bottom of the lottery for so long, teams like the Timberwolves, who have so much talent but can't even win 5 games a season, it just honestly makes you realize how important having a good general manager and front office is. The fourth reason the Raptors have a bright future is the fact that this offseason, it is likely that the Toronto Raptors will sign and trade Kyle Lowry. And I know Raptor fans don't want to hear it, but I think at this point we have to accept that Lowry is going to leave because he's been giving us some amazing years and he's the greatest Raptor of all time. He's not the best Raptor of all time, that goes to Kawhi Leonard, but I think at this point Lowry needs to play on a team that's definitely going to be competing for the championship. And at this current moment, we're not on that level. Maybe in a few years, but I think we're gonna not lose Lowry for absolutely nothing, because he's probably gonna be requesting a pretty large contract, and most teams can't just take on that money, especially contenders. So they would probably want to do a sign and trade for him to make the money work. The trade I was thinking of maybe doing was trading Lowry and Rodney Hood and maybe a first round pick to the Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Ben Simmons. And that way the Raptors would get a player who's already an all-star and a player who could potentially be a top 20 or top 15 player in the NBA, maybe even a superstar, because he definitely has the build and skills for it at a certain point besides shooting. And at worst, I think they can move Lowry to the Miami Heat, maybe in return for like Duncan Robinson in a sign and trade. Another move like this would actually really help the Toronto Raptors, and I actually think it's really realistic because Lowry is still worth a lot because he's still an all-star caliber player, and I think this Lowry sign and trade that's going to happen this offseason could drastically improve this franchise's future, and I kind of just wanted to talk about it. But to conclude the video, I think the Toronto Raptors have a very bright future. As I said, I think people are really sleeping on them right now, and I don't think they realize that we literally played all our game on the road due to the fact that we were playing in Tampa Bay, and I don't think people realize that we were literally the 4th seed going into All-Star break. Then our whole coaching staff had to sit out due to protocols or whatever, and they don't know how much injuries we had this season. We honestly could have made the playoffs this year, but I'm actually happy we didn't. It's a blessing in disguise, because if we did make the playoffs, we wouldn't have got this 4th pick, and if we made the playoffs this year with the way we were just so inconsistent, even when healthy, we probably would have lost in the 1st or at best 2nd round. But people need to forget that, like, not even a year ago, actually yeah, a year ago, we were like the 2nd seed in the whole league, and we were literally like 1 shot away from making the Eastern Conference Finals, and I actually thought we had a legitimate chance to go that year. But anyways, bright stuff is coming to Toronto, and it's great to hear. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Raptors have a bright future. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want everyday content. I post every single day. Also want to reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Comment on this video, start a conversation as I do respond to every single one of my comments. And I'm out.